Hano hano iolani he ali I e ai. Ahe maluhia na ke apua e ai. Ahe kua kapu o e malani e ai. Ka haku ho o he no o Hawaii e ai. Kupu mai la ka mana o kau onohi e ai. Ho o kahi kukui lele hua e ai. Puana ke aloha poina ole. Hano hano iolani he ali I e ai. Hano hano iolani he ali I e ai. Ahe maluhia na ke akua e ai. Ahe kua kapu oi e malani e ai. Ka haku ho o he no o Hawaii e ai. Kupu mai la ka mana o kau onohi e ai. Ho o kahi kukui lele hua e ai. Puana ke aloha poina ole. Hano hano iolani he ali I e ai. Puana ke aloha poina ole. Hano hano iolani he ali I e ai. E o e iolani. Au he awale o e ka o. Manu leo na he o ka ukai. No ka ke ala iliahi. Ka hiko I ka laulau. E na ue mai oi I anei. Ka ui ke ano ahi ahi. Uli ho'i hana ia ka malama. Malama ia I ho te aloha. I hoa pilino ko kino. Lai ai ka nohona o te aho. Haina ka puana I lohe I ai. No e malani no he ino ai. Haina ka puana I lohe I ai. No e malani no he ino ai. He inoa no e malani.
Aloha. That was one long procession there. I'm the Reverend Al Miles and have had the honor and the privilege of serving with Pacific Health Ministry at the Queens Medical Center downtown for 33 plus years. I see a lot of new faces, and riding the bus I was talking to a young chaplain and I said, I started here 33 years ago. She said, I wasn't even born then. Made my day. Epule kako. For the sunshine and the rain, we are so thankful. We thank you, God, for the gathering of these women and men who are dedicated their lives to service. We are thankful to our heritage. King Kamehameha IV and his bride, Queen Emma, and all who have gone before us. We embrace the past as we look towards the future. So thank you for our leadership. Thank you for the workers. Thank you for everyone who is here and those who are not here. All of this we pray in the name of love. Amen.
You may be seated. So, aloha mai kākou, mai kalahiki a kalako. I'm Hipopo Okela Hermosura, and I'm the Senior Director of Native Hawaiian Health and Kaleopapa Unity and Wellness. Mahalo nui to Reverend Al and to Pua Sarau for sharing their beautiful leo with us this morning. Each year, we gather in July to honor the enduring legacy of our founders, King Kamehameha IV and Queen Emma. While the Queen's Hospital was founded in 1859, it was on to this date, July 17th, 1860, that the cornerstone for the hospital was laid at the Queens Medical Center, Manamana campus, marking a significant milestone in realizing their vision of providing compassionate health care to all the people of Hawaii. It is this date that we continue to commemorate through Heritage Day, reflecting on the values, sacrifices, and commitment that gave rise to the institution we now know as the Queen's Health Systems. This year's theme, Hokupa'a, the North Star, reminds us of the steadfast guide that helped Native Hawaiian navigators traverse vast oceans. Like those navigators, we too look to a constant point of reference as we navigate changing times. Hokupa'a calls us to remain grounded in our mission, our values, and our kuleana to serve the people and the communities of Hawaii. As we gather in this sacred place called Mauna Ala, may we take a moment to reflect on the legacy we have inherited, the work entrusted to us today, and the future we are called to help shape us for generations to come. We're gonna do Kemele Ho'omaikai. Oops. Can the teams join me, please? Please stand.
Ho'onani kama
Mahalo, you may be seated. Just as navigators look to Hokupa'a to find their way, patients and families often look to trusted caregivers like physicians during times of uncertainty. Our next speaker has dedicated her career to helping patients navigate some of life's most profound journeys. Through expertise, compassion, and hope, she and her team help individuals find renewed possibilities through transplantation. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Linda Wong to the mic. She's the medical director of the Queens Transplant Center.
Thank you very much for the honor of speaking with you today. I have to thank the organizers for this opportunity. Ever since 1859, when Queen Emma and King Kamehameha IV got together and set up the Queen's Hospital, it has been their mission to take care of the people of Hawaii and all of the Native Hawaiians as well. And it's quite a lofty mission, but honestly, when I first came, I didn't know anything about this mission. But in my defense, I came to Queens Medical Center when I was in elementary school. My parents were both physicians there, and my mom did a rotating internship at Queens Medical Center as a medical doctor. She lived in what's Harkness now, but it used to be dorms, and it used to be where the nurses and the interns lived. And she also worked at Queen Emma Clinic. My dad was a surgeon, and he operated at Queens. So I first came to Queens, and I was in the parking lot. So I got to do all my homework in the parking lot, and I played in the playground. And I thought it was a pretty good place to play, but I didn't know anything about the mission. When I got older, they would bring me to the hospital, and if I was good, I could study in medical records. And apparently my parents were pretty popular there because they had a lot of delinquent medical records. I thought they were important, they were just delinquent. And if I was really good, I could eat in that Queen's Cafe that was in the front, and we would get grilled cheese sandwiches. And so it was a really great place. As I got older, I studied in the Hawaii Medical Library, and it had a great view. And the best view is where Jason Chang's office is now. And my favorite cubbyhole was right under Jason Chang's office. And as time went by, I went to mainland, I came back, and I actually was a summer intern at Queens doing research. And we operated on Iolani 5, we operated on some pigs and some baboons, and we did lots of research up there. So I had a lot to do with Queens, but still didn't know the mission. And then in 1993, we came back, and we started the liver transplant program. And in truth, the first liver transplant was actually done on Iolani 5, because we practiced it on 2 pigs first. And it was a really great opportunity to come back to Iolani 5 and operate, but the anesthesiologist couldn't really keep the pigs alive because they didn't really know how to do that. So then we moved to Queens, and then we moved to St. Francis, and we did transplants there. But the mission didn't become apparent to me until about 2012, when our hospital, several blocks up the street here, was in dire straits and in danger of losing the transplant program. And it was at that time that Queens stepped forward, and the powers that be came together and agreed to take the transplant program over. And this was a huge mission, and it was, no one else wanted to do it except for Queens. And so since that time, when we moved to Queens, we've come back here, and we have built a bigger program, a stronger program, and we serve more people. So we have now saved up to almost 1,000 patients. And last year we did 116 transplants, when previously we only did maybe 60 or 70. So we're a bigger and stronger program. And we are saving lives, and we've saved many lives from people who are dying of liver failure and who had no opportunity except for with transplant, and we're getting many patients off of dialysis as well. Without our transplant program, patients would have to go to the mainland, and those that don't have the means or the resources to go to the mainland would probably just die. So we are grateful for Queens and what they can do for us. Transplant has also taught us the power of teamwork and how together we can work together and be always greater than the individual parts. So none of this would be possible without the organ donors and all of those patients who have donated their organs when they're alive or dead. And so all of our talent and all of our skills are nothing without the organ donors. So our next speaker is going to be talking to you about that in just a minute, and I think you're going to introduce her. And this is the power of altruism and generosity.
Mahalo nui loa, Dr. Wong. Wow, what a great journey. You told us about things that I didn't know happened, like doing transplants on pigs. Mahalo for sharing that. Now I would like to introduce Ryan Noelani Kuos. While transplantation is rooted in science and medicine, its greatest impact is seen in the lives of the people it touches. Every transplant journey is a story of generosity, courage, healing, and connection. Ryan Noelani Kuos is a staff writer for Hawaii Business Magazine and a living kidney donor whose decision to give of life has inspired many throughout our community. Through both her personal experience and her writing, she has helped raise awareness of the profound difference organ donation can make. Please join me in welcoming Ryan to the mic.
Hi, everyone. I am absolutely over the moon to be here today to speak on the fantastic experience I had donating a kidney at Queens 2 years ago. I know a lot of you are probably wondering what compels someone to donate a kidney to a stranger. I could give a very long answer to that question, but I am limited on time. So what it really came down to for me is that approximately 90,000 Americans are on the wait list for a kidney transplant at any given time. And every day, about 13 people on the wait list die because they don't receive one in time. When you factor in the number of people that are removed from the wait list because they became too sick for a transplant, the death toll in actuality is a lot higher. So, when I found out that healthy people like me can donate one of their 2 kidneys and still go on to live a happy, healthy, normal life, the question in my head was no longer, why should I donate a kidney to a stranger? It was, well, why shouldn't I? And from the moment I realized this is something I really could do, I was all in. And it didn't matter to me that I did not have an intended recipient in mind. In fact, what's really cool about going down the route I did, which is known as being a non-direct donor or a Good Samaritan or altruistic donor, is that we can kickstart what are known as donor chains. And so that was a huge motivating factor for me because that meant I could help not just one person receive my kidney, but I could help make multiple kidney transplants happen. So how that worked in my donor chain was the National Kidney Registry matched me with my recipient. I donated to him, and his daughter, who wasn't a match for her father, donated to the next person in the chain in order for him to receive my kidney. And so my recipient's daughter donated to a woman in New York City, and the woman in New York City had a loved one that wasn't a match for her, but was willing to donate to the next person in the chain in order to receive my recipient's daughter's kidney. Sorry if that was confusing. I hope that made sense. But in total, my donor chain involved 8 people. 4 people gave a kidney and 4 people received a kidney. The world record for the longest kidney donor chain is 70 people. 35 people gave a kidney and 35 people received a kidney, all because one person one person was willing to donate to a stranger. And so, as strange as it sounds, I really had no doubts or reservations about donating. I wasn't even nervous. This public speaking is so much scarier. I think it's just because I really feel like it was something that I was meant to do. Funnily enough, my blood type is O neg, which is the universal donor. And I recently found out I'm also CMV neg, which means I can donate blood to babies. And being that combination of O neg and CMV neg is pretty rare. Only about 2% of the world population is both. And what's really cool about being that combination is that we can donate blood to virtually anybody. It also makes it easier for us to find donor matches. So in other words, being a donor is quite literally in my blood. Can't make this stuff up. To be honest, talking about my story, sometimes I get a little bit in my head, only because talking about a good deed you've done doesn't feel like a very humble thing to do. But then I remind myself that hearing others' donation stories is what inspired me to donate. And therefore, I will never turn down the opportunity to spread the good word on living organ donation. So I had my surgery in April of 2024, and my editor at Hawaii Business Magazine, which is where I'm a writer for, asked me to write an article on my experience. And that article came out in March of 2025. And in a full circle moment, I received the best email ever last month from my new friend. His name is Scott. And he reached out to tell me that he stumbled across my article as he was navigating his own journey of becoming a kidney donor at Queens. Like me, Scott was willing to donate to anyone, and he really wanted to start a donor chain. But unlike me, Scott has young children at home and a wife, so I think that made him just a little bit nervous than it was for me as someone who doesn't have kids yet. But he was so sweet to reach out to me and tell me that hearing my experience reassured him. And Scott, after he got the good to go to donate, he heard that a friend of a friend's 4-year-old was in desperate need of a kidney. And so Scott pivoted and tested to see if he'd be a match for this 4-year-old that he's never met. And miraculously they were. And on June 1st, they both had their surgeries. Scott's took place at Queens. And I just think it's incredible that Scott not only helped someone he's never met, but for it to be a child just makes it extra special. But you know, Scott and I could not have done what we did as individuals. This, I cannot emphasize enough, was a massive team effort. It really does take a village. And so I want to thank a few people at Queens that played a really important part in my journey. And I would like to start with Nurse Natalie Lamug Fontanilla. She was my living donor coordinator, and so she was with me every step of the way, from being my first point of contact at Queens to helping me navigate this really intense journey of so many different things: paperwork, urine samples, blood tests, EKGs, echocardiograms, CT scans, chest x-rays, meeting with a nephrologist, meeting with the transplant surgeons, meeting with a psychologist, et cetera, et cetera. So she was my person to help me go through each and every step. And it took just over a year to get to surgery day. And she was literally right by my side as I was getting rolled into the OR, which was such a surreal moment for both of us. And I'm really glad I got to share that with her. She also followed up with me after the nephrectomy to make sure I was doing okay. So she did a lot. Like, she did a lot. And I also want to acknowledge Nurse Miley Reddy, who is also a living donor coordinator. She was more involved towards the end of my process, but she's also really amazing in that role. My nephrologist was Dr. Christy Azutsu. And as a nephrologist, you can imagine she wants more kidney transplants to happen more than anyone. But what I appreciate about Dr. Izutsu is that she didn't let that cloud her judgment in making sure that my health and well-being was put first and foremost as a potential donor in her care above a potential recipient that we hadn't even determined yet. So that's the way it should be when it comes to living organ donation. And nobody at Queens ever pressured me to follow through, but they were always supportive of my informed decision to donate, which I so appreciate. I would also like to thank my transplant surgeons, Dr. Felix Lee and Dr. Makoto Ogihara. Thank you for being here, Dr. Lee. I could not have been in better hands, so thank you so much. Of course. Last but not least, I would like to thank the nurses who gave me the VIP treatment, my 2-day stay at the hospital. And I want to share a little bit about my recipient. As a non-direct donor, it's completely anonymous on both ends. And the only thing I knew about them going into surgery was that they were in California. And as a non-direct donor, there's no guarantee you'll ever find out the identity of the person that you gave to. And that's an outcome that you have to be okay with. And I made peace with that. But I was so stoked when I received a letter from Nurse Natalie from my recipient 3 weeks after surgery. And I found out his name is John. He's my parents' age, and he's from the Bay Area. He has 5 children and 4 grandchildren. And he is just so deserving of having his health back and having more time in good health to spend with his family. And he and his whole family were so appreciative. And yeah, I was so relieved to hear that he and his daughter Jill, who is the daughter that donated to the next person in the chain, were both doing well, and they're still doing well. For my article, I interviewed John, and I asked him if he had any words of wisdom he'd like to share. And he told me, if you have your health, you're the richest person in the world. Having your health, there's nothing better than that. And that is one of the biggest takeaways that I've gotten through this experience is, as someone who's been healthy my entire life, I've been taking that for granted. And it was such an eye-opener going through this experience, and it really made me realize how lucky I am to be able to be a donor, to be so healthy that I can share my wealth with someone else. I do not see that as a sacrifice. It is truly an honor and a privilege, and I could not have done that without Queens. So mahalo nui loa and happy Heritage Day.
Mahalo nui, Ryan, for sharing your mana and your message with us today. And mahalo to all of the caregivers that contributed to your journey. Not only are there physicians and nurses, but there's a lot of people that are behind the scenes that aren't seen that make care possible. And this all wouldn't be possible without our king and queen. And so we want to remember that always. Native Hawaiians navigators look to Hokupa'a as a fixed point of reference, helping them find their way across vast oceans. In much the same way, organizations rely on leaders who help keep them grounded in their mission while guiding them forward through changing times. As we gather here today to honor the legacy of King Kamehameha IV and Queen Emma and their son Prince Albert, it is my privilege to introduce our leader at the Queens Health Systems, President and CEO, Jason Chang.
Aloha. This has to be a record crowd at Mauna Ala. This is amazing to look out and see so many people here to recognize and celebrate our heritage, the founding of the Queens Health Systems, the Queens Hospital, and the King and the Queen that made this all happen. I want to thank Dr. Wong for telling your story. I know that it's hard for you to be vulnerable and share, some of your upbringing, but we appreciate that because it's these stories that are so rich that guide us and they give us purpose. And Ryan, thank you for sharing just a really amazing story about, your journey. These stories, all of us have many of these stories, so thank you for sharing just a few of those because They inspire us. And that's what Heritage Day is all about. It's about remembrance. So many people have sacrificed so many things to create the Queen's Hospital back in 1859. And many of us have spent time over the course of that 167 years building upon that legacy, holding that kuleana as our own responsibility to make sure that the King and the Queen's vision never fades away. And those stories have led to more programs and more services and will continue over the next 167 years. And it's always great to have another reminder of why we're here. Who are the people we take care of? And so I just want to thank all of you for telling your stories. Thank all of you for being here to recognize as well. I want to just share that legacies can begin with some person taking a bold action. And in the case of our founders, the bold action was that they noticed that the Native Hawaiian population was dying. And it would have been fine to just let that happen. But in their 20s, they went out and said, we are going to build a hospital. So the first bold statement was that we're going to do something. But then they followed that up, and it wasn't just a statement. It was that they had to go to the legislature and get denied. And they fought. They went door to door, and they fundraised money to create the first Queen's Health Systems. And then the Queen recognized that people were not using the hospital, so she went door to door as part of a civic club to recognize that people were not feeling well. They needed to come to the hospital, and so she encouraged them. She held their hands and walked them to the hospital. And while they were in the hospital, she would round on them. She was like our first volunteer that would sit by their side and talk story with them. And so you think about that first brave action that she took, cascaded into what we now recognize as her legacy. And so many other people have been able to take such brave actions. And so we never know when we're going to impact someone today, or earlier this week, or last year, which is going to have a small impact on somebody, or maybe it's an enormous impact on somebody. But they're brave actions, and I just love hearing those stories. About 3 months ago, we introduced the concept of Hokupa'a, which has been explained as our North Star, and that North Star is what's going to guide us. And we also shared a 10-year vision, which will be rolled out over the coming months. And in that 10-year vision, we said there's somewhere we have to go. If we're going to carry out the legacy of our founders, we need to set the course, and we will use that North Star to guide us. And so in that Hokupa'a, there's things that we said have to happen. We will remain the quaternary facility for the place that the most sick, the most ill, the most injured patients can always come to. And those doors will never be shut to anybody. In fact, we're going to expand our footprint, and we are going to go out to communities and take care to them where they don't have access to Queen's Care today. Because I'm confident that the care that you provide as Queen's caregivers is the best in the entire state. And so I want to recognize everybody, no matter where you are across this organization, the contributions that you're providing back to the people of Hawaii. It's not unrecognized, and sometimes it may feel like it's not appreciated enough. But trust me, it is. We had an event last night, and we were able to introduce the cardiac program to a group of the community leaders, and they were so thankful for what we do. And you get to hear their stories about their journeys into the health system. And their stories are very unique, and they're mostly from the patient's perspective. But when you hear the thanks, I can't convey those thanks that they provided, out to you enough with the same resonance that they provided back to us. And so I want to recognize that everything that you do makes an impact on everybody. And our commitment over the next 10 years to ensure that we have built that next foundational footsteps so that we are here over the next 167 years. So I hope that the stories that you hear inspire you, and that the stories give you an opportunity to recognize that those stories and the people that you impacted create community. The community that we take care of every day, but more importantly, the community within Queens, because we are a community amongst ourselves. Our almost 11,000 employees that are spread across the entire state are part of our community, our ohana, and we take care of our ohana, and that's important. And we always have to remind ourselves that regardless where we are, that there's a bigger network of us somewhere next door, somewhere that's listening, and somewhere that's meaningful to the community. So I just want to say thank you for being here today. It's wonderful to see all the Hokupa'a shirts. We want to thank everyone that's helped put this event together, because it helps makes us, Queens, such a strong organization. So mahalo.
Mahalo nui, Jason. Mahalo for guiding us and leading us and carrying forward the legacy of our founders, King Kamehameha IV and Queen Emma. This morning, we've reflected on many ways Hokupa'a guides us through faith, through service, through connection, through giving, through generosity, and through leadership. And now we come to a moment of gratitude and ho'okupu, kalamai, ho'okupu, honoring the vision of our founders, whose steadfast commitment to the health and well-being of our people continue today. Like Hokupa'a, their legacy remains a constant light, reminding us where we come from and helping us illuminate the path ahead. So we're going to start our ho'okupu ceremonies. And we're going to start with the Royal Societies.
Ho mai na pupuna ho Hawaii. Aloha, aloha, aloha. Wailona. Ilorone.
Mahalo. Now I'd like to welcome Jason, our Board of Trustees and Executive Vice Presidents and Senior Vice Presidents, please. Now I'd like to call up our public officials. I'd like to welcome our Ali'i Trust and Ali'i organizations. Now I'd like to open it to the community members. Mahalo. Now we'd like to invite the rest of our Queens Ohana. At this time, I'd like to invite anyone who didn't give ho'okupu but would like to. So a few mahalos. First of all, we have an insert in our program that acknowledges the entity leaders' choice on individuals who exemplify the values and the behaviors of our king and queen. So we want to honor all of them and mahalo them for being here today. And mahalo to the leaders for choosing you. We'd also like to thank the public officials for making time out of their busy schedules to be here to honor our king and queen. So mahalo nui to you too. And now I'd like to conclude our ceremony. And please stand and join us in singing Hawaii Aloha. Mahalo nui for being here. If you have time, please join us on the Queens Mana Mana campus on Punch Bowl